So here it is, guys, finally after, I don't know, 18 months or something since we first reserved and started making orders back in January. We finally got my dad's. This one's my dad's, it's not mine. This is a Badlands Bronco with the Sasquatch package. It's a 2021 in Rapid Red, and can't wait to get it home and start tinkering with it, showing it off. We're gonna do some comparison with our Mojito Jeep and probably compare it to the Wrangler 392 as well. But this thing is beautiful. We actually got a perfect day here in Chicago. It's like 85 degrees, the sun is shining. Good day to probably drop this top and check it out. So we're gonna do some walk around and really check this thing out, because actually here's the cool thing. My dad hasn't even sat in one or driven one yet. So this is his first time actually getting to check it out. You saw already, we actually came out here to PacquiWeb Ford a couple months ago and got to test drive the blue two-door. So my dad didn't get to come with me, so this is cool. It's gonna be his first drive, first time actually getting to check it out. But stay tuned. When I get it home, you know I'll be comparing it to our other Jeeps just to see how things match up and stack up. All right, I wanna give a big shout out to Adam and the guys here at PacquiWeb Ford. These guys took care of us. Super easy process, in and out, quick and easy. No games, no hassles. So we're really happy with our purchase process now that the Bronco finally actually showed up, which of course was not PacquiWeb's fault at all. That's all Ford's problem. So the guys here at PacquiWeb Ford took care of us. We're just super excited to get this thing out and play with it, check it all out. But if you're looking for a new Ford, including a Bronco, make sure you check these guys out, PacquiWeb Ford here in Illinois. All right, so we got the Bronco back here to the house, and what we wanted to do right off the bat, first thing, was line up the whole gang here so that we can be able to compare them side by side, the Bronco Badlands Sasquatch package against our full line of Jeep vehicles. So just to reiterate here on the Bronco, this is a stock 2021 Ford Bronco Badlands with the Sasquatch package. The Sasquatch package is what gets it the 35-inch tires, gets it a little bit of a lift, the bigger fender flares, but other than that, I mean, this thing is actually a stock production vehicle from Ford, and it's massive. I mean, it just sits so big and so huge. It's crazy how much smaller the JL Rubicon looks compared to it. Now, going down the line from the Bronco to the Wrangler 392 here, what this is, to reiterate if you haven't been following along, this is a Jeep Wrangler 392, which comes with the big Hemi V8. It comes standard with a 2-inch lift kit and 33-inch tires on it. We have modified this one to put 37-inch tires, and we've gone up an inch in the lift kit with a Clayton off-road lift kit. So this one sits a few inches taller than stock, and you can see it's just barely taller than the Bronco. And actually the overall height, maybe just an inch or so up there. And you can kind of tell at the hood here that it sits just a little bit taller. Without the hood scoop, you know, if you're just looking at the fender here, really not a huge difference in height. And then to go down to the biggest, obviously we got the Jeep Gladiator, which is on a 4.5-inch Evo lift kit with 40-inch tires. So going down the line, we got 35-inch tires, 35-inch tires, 37-inch Nittos, and 40-inch Nittos. So smallest to largest. Now you may also notice, besides the overall height of the Bronco, it's wide. It just seems really wide, and it really comes down to the way the Jeep does their fenders. You know, their whole front end here is pretty narrow, and then the fenders flare out more, whereas the Bronco's kind of got a really big flat hood with kind of narrower fenders that don't have to stick out as far to kind of take in the tire size. Because of the overall width of the Bronco. Now, this may be, it's got a good feel going down the road being big like that, but its presence may be a problem on tighter trails, kind of like what we've noticed on the Gladiator a little bit, just because of the length. But this width may be an issue down the line. We'll see once we get this thing out on some trails. All right, so starting our walk around with the new Bronco Badlands, you'll notice the Badlands gets the steel bumpers, which does have their removable ends, which give it that cool look. You'll notice what we did on the 392, we took the end caps off of here to kind of expose the tires. I think it's just a cool look, and it's cool that Bronco also gave you that option with the steel bumper. The Badlands gets its own unique front grille. The Sasquatch package gets these wider fender flares, so what you'll notice when we do get our own Bronco, we don't have the Sasquatch package, so these flares aren't quite as wide, which is to accommodate the 35-inch Goodyear tires that come on a Sasquatch package unique wheel that gets a beauty ring here, because this is a factory capable beadlock wheel, so you can change out this ring to a beadlock trim ring. Nice little touch Ford added on the badges that for the vehicles that come with the Sasquatch package. It is noted there on the Badlands logo. Moving along, you do get the rock rails that's standard on a Badlands version, which is kind of the equivalent of a Rubicon for those of you that are Jeepers. This, we did get the optional keypad to unlock and lock your doors. Moving around to the back, as you see, and I've noted multiple times, we did get the soft top in order to speed the order up. We really wanted the hard top like we get on all of our Jeeps, but this was the only way to get it in a decent amount of time. Moving around to the back, you've got the, that's plastic there, but the steel is here for the steel rear bumper. You do have dual tow hooks on the rear here, in case you get stuck, which will probably happen because it's a Ford. Some of the nice touches you'll notice is right here on the windshield. Ford added the Bronco and established 1966. You get the cool lights that are actually attached and mounted to the cowl of the vehicle instead of to the door, which will be nice when you do remove the doors. You will still have the mirrors attached to the vehicle. So unlike the Jeeps where you have to add mirrors when you take the doors off, these are still going to stay put. Take the doors off, store them in the bags, and put them away. You'll notice that Ford has done some nice things like mark places where it's accessory ready. So on both tops of the windshield, it's marked there, says accessory ready, basically letting you know that it is ready. It's actually pre-wired to the auxiliary switches up in here so that you can mount light bars and different KC lights or whatever type of lights you want to put up there. So it's nice that they've already kind of made it pre-ready for those kind of things. All right, moving into the interior, you'll notice that this one does have the actual leather package on it. Our order, when it comes, will have the marine grade vinyl, but this one does actually have leather seating. You'll notice it's got the Bronco kind of embossed into the leather, and then you've got the Badlands stitching, which is kind of this orangey color that matches things like the handle, some accents on the dash, and the cargo netting here on the side. Now this Bronco is pretty well optioned out, so it does have the Luxe interior package, which comes with the 12-inch touchscreen and all the amenities like the garage door opener buttons, got the auxiliary switches, all that kind of good stuff here. On top of the dash, you'll notice it's got an USB plugs up there, so I'll be able to charge my GoPros and things like that when I get them mounted up here. It does have the Bang & Olufsen upgraded stereo system in here. Now, speaking of the stereo system and the upgraded Bang & Olufsen system, I will tell you right off the bat, it is not as good as the Alpine sound system in the Jeeps. Now, those only come with an 8.4-inch touchscreen. So on the Bronco, they've got the win with the big 12-inch touchscreen, but again, the sound quality in the Jeeps, I can tell you already, is better with the Alpine. But again, the biggest screen you can get in the Jeeps is an 8.4-inch touchscreen, so Ford gets the win there. So the Bronco here is going to have your GOAT modes, which are your various all-terrain modes, whether it's sand or rocks. Depending on your terrain, you'll be able to just dial this in to set up the settings to be optimized for that type of off-roading. We also have part of the Badlands package is going to be your sway bar disconnect, your front and rear locking differentials. You've got the trail turn assist, and then your traction control off. Now you may ask yourself, what is the trail turn assist? And I'm not quite sure what the actual usage is going to be for on the trails, but it's designed to allow you to make tighter turns out on the trails. Basically what it does, it'll lock one of your back wheels to be able to kind of make your turn tighter. And I'll try to put in a little clip here if I can, showing how it works. But again, I'm not sure that I see the value in it. It's kind of a cool feature, but I don't know how often you're actually going to use something like that. Now, I've barely scratched the surface on working with the whole infotainment center here. So I haven't had a lot of experience with it. I'm not typically a Ford guy, so as far as the Ford Sync program goes, I'm not super familiar with it, but I'm going to get comfortable with it and you know, maybe show off a little bit more of it later once I've kind of gotten familiar with things. But for now, I've figured out how to get Apple CarPlay on here, which is all that's really important to me. I don't really use navigation or anything like that. We've got all sorts of different features and settings, and you can add your apps in here. So that's about all the extent of what I've played with that for now. But so far it seems to be fairly intuitive. This vehicle does have the, you know, lane change assist. It's got the adaptive cruise control, the park sensors. So again, like I said, very loaded up with all sorts of options and fancy features that I've yet to get a chance to really play with. All 4 window switches are going to be in the center console here, as well as the mirror adjustment. We've got dual cup holders, and then a single compartment armrest with a little storage compartment inside there. It does have a USB charger down in here, but it's also got the wireless charging pad, so you'll be able to just place your phone there to charge. One big thing that really sets the Bronco apart from the Jeeps is that the doors do not have a big window frame that goes around it like this, which makes the doors heavier and more bulky. This is going to allow you to be able to store your doors. When you remove them, you'll be able to store them in the back of the Bronco, which is something you cannot do in a Jeep. Now, moving to the back seat, the legroom is actually pretty good. You got a pretty good amount of room back here for a full-size adult. I actually rode back here and was fairly comfortable. I noticed the armrest is kind of small in comparison to the Jeeps, but you do have your dual cup holders just like in the Wranglers. One thing I did notice, and it's kind of a dumb thing, but because you got the leather, it did come with the carpeted floors in the Badlands Bronco, and they did give some kind of cheap carpeted floor mats. But what I noticed is in the rear here, there's nothing clipped in to hold them in. And if there's one thing I've noticed with the Jeeps is that they need the clips in the back here, especially when you're driving without doors. Without having them clipped in here, I guarantee you these floor mats will blow out and be gone while you're driving, especially if you get on the highway. So just a little simple thing that I think Ford kind of skimped on. Otherwise, you got to make sure you don't have a floor mat back here, because those will disappear on you. Now, on the back of the center console here, they feel it's necessary to tell you not to step on it. But you do have the window up and down for the rear windows here. And then you've got some charging ports, the 110. And you've got some MOLLE panels and a little cargo storage area here on the backs of the seats. That's definitely nice to have. And then moving to the tailgate in the back of the Bronco, this one big thing that I really noticed that's a big deal, that's a lot different on the Bronco, is that when you open it, the Broncos actually have a shock in here, kind of like a rear window shock, that will stop it and hold it at a position. So this is a position 1. If you let it go a little further, it will go to about 90 degrees and stop. But you can also then continue on opening it up a lot further. Now, again, this is something that's not capable of being done on the Jeeps. I would love to show you, but ours actually both have the Rust-eze Performance tailgate carrier, so it's not going to be apples to apples because we're not comparing a stock arm there. But none of the Jeeps have any kind of shock in there to stop it from opening and closing and blowing, you know, blowing shut on you. So definitely a cool feature. Now, because this one has the soft top, there's basically two latches. There's one on either side in the back here. And what it's going to do is it's going to allow this to flip up. And then there is a hood prop here to kind of hold it up in position. And this is going to be hard for me to do with one hand while filming, but let's see what happens here. So I folded that down, and it's going to clip in right there. And what that does is it gives you a little bit better access to your cargo compartment when you've got the soft top on, because this window doesn't fold out. And in comparison, I've never had a Jeep with a soft top, so I don't know if this is normal for this to not open. I feel like the Wranglers unclip and kind of fold out, whereas this kind of pops up like this. But definitely a cool take on it. All right, so moving into the storage compartment or the rear hatch of the Bronco, you do get a little hidden storage compartment, kind of like you do on the Wranglers. It's definitely not as big as the Wranglers, but it does give you a little bit of hidden storage there. And then you do have tie downs here, so you can tie down your cargo if you want. And I believe there's 4 of them. Yeah, one in each corner. And then what you're seeing here, these bags are the door storage bags. So that's what's going to be able to slide over the doors when you remove them, and then lock them in back here for storage. You do get a 12-volt power source back here, as well as some lighting. And then on the driver's side here, you've got your, this is to remove disconnect for the power to when you've got the hard top, I believe is where it's going to come into play. This is your washer squirter and your power for your rear defrost and rear wiper. This will not be important for us with the soft top, but eventually we will get a hard top for this. But they did prep it for that. You'll notice from back here, it does have the 60/40 rear split seat, so each side will be able to fold down separately. Now, I will say, so far I'm not hating the soft top. We were able to tell yesterday when we picked it up, it was like 87 degrees out, and you could actually feel the heat coming down through it. I wish it had kind of like a secondary liner or more like insulation on the inside. But other than that, the big thing that really bugs me on the Bronco soft tops, Ford did a good job of making the roof line flat on these, which always bugged me on the Jeeps because there was like a big hump in the middle. So they did a nice job there. But what I really dislike is how kind of loose or floppy these side windows look. And it's the same on both sides, and pretty much every Bronco I've seen has that. And I really feel it just has to do with the design and the way that they made it, that it doesn't pull it tight. So that would be my biggest complaint about the soft top so far. And I can show you here. Let me see if I can do this with one hand. This just folds up and over and folds down. And then there's basically 2 latches, one on each side. Okay, so it's just very stiff, especially because this is the first time we relatched it since we unlatched it. And then there's one on the passenger side here. And that's all it takes to clip it in from the position we had it. So this gives you a little better view here of the top with it closed, that you don't get that bump, which you can probably tell why the Jeep has it. It's because it's got these big humps here, basically for the speaker, for the sound bar or whatever. It sticks up, and so the soft top has to go up and over that. This didn't do that. So they did a much better job on the top portion, but not the side windows. Of course, you want to know how it rides and drives, right? So we're gonna go for our first ride along. I grabbed my key, which somehow Ford managed to make their Bronco key even larger than the Jeep key, which everybody says is huge to begin with. So massive key. Gonna go ahead and fire it up. Overall, it's pretty quiet. Actually, that was the one thing my dad noticed right off the bat is he said although he loves the way it rides and drives, is the overall feel is kind of mundane. The exhaust note is kind of blah, not very much there. Rides and drives good, but just nothing super exciting, especially coming from, you know, being able to drive the Wrangler 392. So well, let's go for a ride. I'm gonna close up these windows. I do like that all 4 windows are automatic close and open, which is nice. The Jeeps have the automatic down, automatic up in the front, but not the rear. So go ahead and put it in drive. And I close the windows up so that the sound will be better for the camera. One thing I do want to show you guys is I'll pop the hood when I get back, because they have, I mean, it's really an ugly engine compartment. Ford did not do any kind of engine cover. At least on the Wrangler, they do give you a cover. And the one thing we were thinking about is just when you're getting it dirty and you're off-roading and you're in the mud and stuff, just having that cover, even though it's not going to perfectly cover the engine and keep it clean, it does help, because you can pop that cover off, clean it separately, whereas this is just an open engine with no kind of covering over it. So something that Ford should think about, or if somebody wants to come up with an aftermarket option for a beauty cover, would be nice. I got up to about 55 mile an hour here, and there is some wind noise from the soft top, but it's not as bad as I actually would have thought. Now, I have not taken it on the highway yet, so I don't know how the sound is inside, but it's actually not terrible. This is the first time I've driven it with the top closed and the windows up, so as far as road noises and stuff, it's my first time actually getting to test it out. Now, the one thing I've noticed, and I noticed this on my test drive, that I really like about the feel of the Bronco is that it does sit, it just, I don't really even know how to describe it, but the front end sits up high and tight, and it's got a good road presence. It just feels cool. This one does, and I don't believe I've mentioned it, but this one does have the 2.7 liter motor. One thing I will say is that with this 2.7 liter V6 motor, does have a lot more power and torque, and that is definitely noticeable, especially from stops, from a takeoff. You definitely notice that extra power that the V6 3.6 liter of the Wrangler and Gladiator is missing, really. Now, in comparison to the Wrangler 392, this motor is a joke. That thing is an absolute beast. Runs 12 seconds in the quarter mile stock, straight out of the box. Now, the other thing we should note is that it does have taller gears in the Badlands Bronco, and I forget what the actual ratio is. I know on the Jeeps it comes standard with a 410 gear, the Rubicon, but the Sasquatch package gets a little steeper gear, and again, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I'll try to put it in the screen here when I edit the video. Overall, the street mannerisms of the Bronco are above and beyond the Wrangler and the Gladiator. It just seems to be better planted to the road. Doesn't seem to feel like it gets blown around as much or as much wander. And really that comes down to the independent front suspension, whereas the Jeeps have the solid front axle. So what you gain in streetability on the Bronco, you're going to most likely lose in off-road capabilities, and we'll find that out soon enough when we get this thing off-road. We do plan to take it and the Mojito Jeep because it's the most direct side-by-side comparison of the two. So like I mentioned, nothing fancy going on under the hood here. A simple beauty cover I think would have kind of cleaned this whole engine compartment up quite a bit, but I don't know, I guess it's a Bronco, you're taking it off-road, I guess how pretty does it need to be, but definitely could have used a nice cover, and I'm sure somebody will come out with something to cover that up. All right, so I want to get you a little bit of a taste of the exhaust from out back, which, like I mentioned, is kind of mundane, but we'll give it a try anyways. So that's that. Really nothing all that exciting or special, but I'll let you hear the engine while it's running. All right, so I think that's gonna be just about it for today. I think that should wrap things up. I hope I touched on everything you were wondering about or anything you had questions about. But if you do have additional questions, comments, any thoughts about the Bronco, make sure you drop those in the comments below. I always do my best to try to respond to our followers and subscribers. But stay tuned to our channel. I've got a lot more content coming. We're just scratching the surface on figuring out our plan, what we want to do to this one and to our Bronco when it comes. I know that right now products are pretty limited. There aren't a lot of options out there. Lift kits and stuff seem like they're just starting to roll out, but I got a feeling in the next month or so here with the SEMA show coming out that there's going to be a lot of products debuting at SEMA that are going to be really awesome for the Bronco. This is going to be the year of the Bronco at SEMA for sure. So stay tuned. We're going to be looking out for what products are out there and start modifying these things up. In the meantime, make sure you subscribe to our channel, give this video a big thumbs up, and make sure you follow us over on Instagram at the Shocker Racing Garage so you can learn more about not only the Bronco and what we're doing to it, but all of our Jeeps, and check out our previous Jeep videos.